Majidayo.
Hey yo, welcome back to Majidayo, the podcast where we talk about Majisuka Gakuen, the show produced by AKB48. I am your host, Raiden, and this is my co-host, Elliot.
Hello.
And we're here to talk about episode 5. I don't remember the title for this one. Do you remember the title for this one?
Let me get it. We should be more prepared for this, but we never are.
We never are. We always forget about the title, and I was just like, oh wait, we said we would tell the title, and we're already off to an amazing start in this podcast. As you can tell, this is totally a professional podcast. We know what we're doing.
Super professional. As I cough into the microphone.
Oh god.
Or sit too far away from it, because I do that too. Okay, hold on. I think I'm almost there to where it says it.
This is, like, the video I have up only says season 1 episode 5. It doesn't tell me the name.
Yeah, mine too. It's okay.
I'm like, cool, thanks video.
You want to know what this is literally called?
What?
Chokoku and Nezumi. That's
it?
That's it!
Oh my god.
I count this one as, like, the one with the most boring title.
I count this one as the one that's, like, the worst. One of the worst overall. But
oh yeah, I can.
It's not a good episode. I will just say that right now. So before we really delve into this episode, any idol news, Elle?
I mean, other than like reminding people about the ninth generation concert that's on the 29th.
Oh shit, that's right. I forgot about it.
And you're the one that loves ninth gen.
I know. God.
Are you a true fan?
Clearly not. I've been disowned. Rejected. Ousted.
That's really the only one I have.
Well, I have one.
Oh. What's up?
So a couple days ago, prior to the date of this recording, Sashihara Rino, who plays Woda in this series, Sashi, she won an award for by Vogue Japan. Yeah, she won Woman of the Year 2019.
And
I was like, damn,
crazy.
Sashi, get it. Yeah, that's crazy.
Like, she used to just be... Wasn't she, like, a waitress at the AKB cafe?
Yeah, she was. She was a waitress.
Wow.
In their cafe. It's crazy. The glow up.
Honestly.
Yeah, I'm proud of her. I'm happy for her. Yeah, but that's all
like,
I have.
That's, like, mind-blowing.
For right now. Yeah, but that's all I got for now. So, I'll just say... Again, I'm not a fan of this ep.
God, I'm not either. I didn't realize it until I was watching it again. Like, this episode's a mess.
It's not good.
No.
It's really not good.
While we're going through the whole thing, but it's not good.
Let's start with the opening, which isn't that bad actually, because we get an opening of Dharma talking to Maida, saying that she bought a used motorbike, and we see like shots of her like trying to be all cool with it.
Oh yeah.
It's so good. Like, she's posing with it. She has her like helmet on.
It's really cute. It's actually really cute.
It's adorable.
I'm like, where did you get the money?
Yeah, me too. I was just like wondering about that. I was like, how did you afford this?
Yeah, because it's like, do you have like a secret like part-time job or something? Because it's not unknown that Yankees have jobs. I mean, I don't know if Maida's paid, but Maida does work at the hospital.
She does. If anything, she at least interns there.
Yeah. So, Maida does that. We'll see this more later, but this isn't really a spoiler. But Black works at a supermarket part-time.
Yeah, she works as a cashier, yeah.
Yeah, so it's not like Yankees don't get jobs.
Yeah.
But it's
Um,
just we never see if Daruma has a job. We don't see if maybe like how Team Horomon just kind of stole money from Maida.
yeah.
So it's like, where did you get this money? And with
Right.
do you have an allowance from home? I doubt
I
it.
could see it. I could see it. Because, well, I'll kind of spoil this right now. She mentions later that her siblings end up going into the medical field,
Oh
if I
yeah.
recall.
I totally
So,
forgot about that.
they're kind of well. I would say that they're not that, they're not poor or anything. I would assume that they're kind of well off.
Mm.
So
That would
maybe
explain
she
where the money
does get
went.
an
Okay.
allowance.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. It's possible. Or she just stole it, or I have no idea. But it seems like she really paid this thing off because she's like, she tells Maida, I need a sticker to park it, so I have to go get one and I can't walk home with you today.
That's another thing though. Is like, why would you? I understand getting a motorbike because you do need to get around faster, but also why would you take it to a Yankee school where it's just going to get thrashed?
Right. It's gonna get stolen. Oh, man. But I'm assuming that, the Yankee schools all have, like, places where you can park your shit.
I mean, the teacher has
Like,
to park somewhere, right? The teacher and the
Yeah.
principal, they have to have their own parking.
Yeah, they do. I'm assuming there are other teachers in this school. Like, my theory is there are. We just don't see them because they don't have the budget to afford other actors.
Yeah, I could see that. At least in
Okay,
this
so
season. We
well,
don't know about
yes.
other seasons.
We don't know about other seasons, but I assume that that is also true in other seasons as well. We just don't see them because they just don't have a budget to go and hire like other actors outside of, the group. Or if they do, they only hire like one adult,
Yeah.
and that's it. But so my Daruma bids Maida like goodbye, and it's like, yeah, I'll see you later. Thank you for your hard work. I need to go get that sticker. And like Daruma's walking, and she bumps into somebody, or rather, someone bumps into her as she's walking.
Yeah.
And this is where we get our first title card. Pretty early, like literally just like I think like 2-3 minutes in.
Not
Into the
even.
episode.
Not even. It's not even a full minute in.
No, you're right. You're right.
But
like
yeah, Daruma,
barely a
when
minute
she gets bumped by this person, she's like, hey, if you bump into someone, at least say something. And this person turns around and just starts reciting poetry to her as a response.
Yeah.
It's really strange.
It's so weird. It's so weird. But we get our first title card, and it reads Majisuka Girls' School Senior Chokoku. Oh my god. Chokoku. And the note reads, Chokoku means sculpture in Japanese. And the actress that plays Chokoku is Akimoto Sayaka, and she looks so good. She looks so good in this show.
Oh,
And I'm sad that she got a shitty episode. But she's named Chokoku because Akimoto Sayaka has
the face of a goddess.
She has a sculpture-like physique. She is literally a goddess. Like, her body is just, wow. I'm just like, dang, girl, get it. But yeah, so we meet Chokoku, and she just recites poetry at Dharma. Dharma's just, like, staring at her like, what? And this school must be an experience for Dharma, who's probably just used to, like, normal Yankee schools. Up until this point, because she's just like, she met the Sancho sisters, who were really weird, Gakuran, that's really weird, Chokoku, who's odd as fuck, with all her poetry. I mean, like,
God,
it's just it must be an experience.
Yeah.
But yeah, so just Chokoku walks away. We get this wonderful shot of like Sayaka going up the stairs, Chokoku going up the stairs. And she's like hella serious, haha. As she walks in, just Dharma just kind of stares at her in like confusion. She just walks away.
Bewilderment, like what?
Yeah.
Like who does that?
It's such a weird cold open, to be honest. Because we cut to the theme song like right after Chokoku walks away.
Yeah, it's kind of like startling, really, that they put the theme song there. I understand it's like, well, we have to put the theme song at some point in the beginning of the episode, but like I felt like they could have
Yeah.
done it at a better spot.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. To me, it just feels like it was like, well, where could we put this? We're putting a cut here anyways. Let's put the theme song.
Yeah.
It's
Still, I don't know. It was really a really weird cold open to me. And but when we cut back to the grill again. It's just their favorite transition into the episode.
I'm telling you, it's their favorite one.
I just don't
Maybe we should
understand.
have had a counter for how many times they had this transition instead of the
Right?
Maji
We should
counter.
have, but I don't think I ever realized like how much they actually like cut to the grill so much.
Yeah,
In
I
this
definitely didn't
season.
either. Also, I'd like to point out that um some of the like the sauce or that they're using for their meat is just kept in a beaker.
I never noticed that for real.
It's like a beaker, and then one of them's like a
Oh,
flask.
it is.
And I'm
oh
just
my
like,
God.
Jesus Christ. Those
I
things
mean,
are
I'm not
expensive.
surprised. It's not like they're used for their actual purpose in this school.
God, you're right.
Yeah.
I'm just surprised they're not like broken because they're glass, you know? So I
I
figured.
mean, they might have just stolen the ones that actually weren't, but who knows?
You're right.
But yeah, so Dharma's asking Hormone. This is like becoming a trend here, where she's like every strange person she meets at this school.
Yeah.
She's like, Hormone, who the fuck was that?
I mean, it's a good group to talk to since like they seem to know like everyone.
Yeah,
So
that's true enough. But Dharma's like, yeah, she had the face of a Greek temple.
yeah, instead of a Greek sculpture.
But she's getting it wrong because like it pans to like Greek temple and then it's like, no, you're saying it right. You're saying sculpture face, or something like that. I don't know. I can't really understand it because it's very much a like play on words kind of thing.
Yeah, that happens.
And it's like because
quite
I
a
don't
bit
know
in this
Japanese.
episode.
Yeah, it doesn't make too much sense to me. But she's like, yeah, she was like mumbling haiku at me. And Unagi's like, that wasn't haiku, you like
You
fucking
uncultured
walnut.
swine.
It's like you uncultured swine, yeah.
And then Unagi's like, it's 100 poems by 100 people, but the way it's said in Japanese can be heard wrong, as we see with Dharma, who freaks out and she's like, 100 people? Because she hears, like, that she beat 100 people, and
Right.
presumably she thinks it's all at once, but
Yeah.
they're like... and, like, Team Hormone, when Dharma stands up and is like, 100 people? They're all like, oh shit, what? All of them, like, jump back because they're so surprised by
they're
her
like,
reaction.
that's the wrong reaction to have. Yeah, that's not... I don't know. It's so funny. I'm like, Dharma's comprehension levels are not good.
No, they're not. Which is actually kind of funny because I think it's Bungie. She says something like, your grades must be way off. And I'm like, you're Yankees.
Yeah.
Who cares about grades?
I mean, they still need to graduate. I mean, they
They
still have
graduate by
homework.
attending class.
That's true. But I mean, they still have homework. Like, they still have homework.
Do you think they do it, though?
I don't know.
Except Maida. Maida doesn't count.
I mean, they could.
I-
This statement implies that they do their homework and they do have like tests and stuff.
That's
So that makes me
such a
feel like
hilarious thought, though.
I know it is, but it just means that they do. We just never see it. I imagine it's off screen. Anyway, so we come back to Hormone talking about how Chokoku's rumored to be fighting not only like outsiders of the school, but also Rapapa themselves. And they're all just like, yeah, this is a thing.
Yeah.
And they kind of go into like a little bit about how she lost Chokoku lost to Yuko and then supposedly went to a temple somewhere to train. And I'm just like, what?
And because
Oh,
she this episode is just wild. But
Yeah, so
because
many wild implications.
oh yeah. But because she also lost to Yuko, that's the reason why I almost called her Sayaka. Chokoku is trying to beat 100 people. Not all at once,
Yes.
but just overall.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why she has the 100 poems by 100 poets. Which is also funny because they say she's the only member of the 100 poems by
She
100
made a
poets club.
club.
She made a club. I wonder if it was
Oh
like
my
maybe she just
God.
needed an extra like just extra credits, and so she was like, well, if I make a club, it counts.
Jesus.
And like, I guess I don't know. This is kind of, I guess, a slight spoiler, but it's not that important. But we also know that later, Black also likes poetry. We've talked about it already. And I'm just like,
Oh, yes.
I know Chokoku is like fighting Rapapa, but I want them to like talk to each other about poetry and then just judge each other on their tastes. Because I
Oh
imagine
my
they're completely
God.
different.
No, can you imagine them both talking poetry at each other? Oh my goodness. Spare me. And so
God.
as they're, explaining everything about Chokuku, we actually cut to like a scene of her beating up the Kabuki sisters. And when she beats them up, she leaves kind of like a calling card of poetry on them.
Mm-hmm. And she recites it to them too. That's the thing.
Yeah, she does. And Dharma's like, oh, it's just another Majisuka urban legend, huh? And like, she turns away as she's contemplating this, but Team Hormone, all of them take out a card.
Yeah, and they're holding it up, and like Daruma isn't turning around, so Mukuchi like pats her shoulder, like, "Hey, turn around," but Daruma doesn't, and this is probably my favorite scene in the whole episode because Daruma doesn't turn around, but she reaches to her back right to hit Unagi in the shoulder. And then they just pass it around the circle until it gets back to Mukuchi, who then just slaps Daruma on the shoulder really hard.
Yeah. And she's like, what is it? And then she's like, oh, she sees all the cards that they have, all the poetry cards. And Team Hormone's like, yeah, she's probably stronger than Maida. And Dharma's just like has this like shocked face of like, that's not possible.
Yeah. And then they also
man.
kind of explain, I think at this point now they're like, yeah, that's why she's trying to beat 100 people. And then
Dharma it just clicks for her, kind of, but she still gets it wrong because they're like, no, it's 100 poems by 100 poems by 100 poets.
Yeah,
and she doesn't seem to get the joke. And,
yeah.
So we cut to Chokoku standing in like front of the stairs that lead up to Rapapa, and she's having like flashbacks to the moment that she lost.
Yeah, like she looks down and then she sees herself on the floor.
Yeah, it's a really interesting flashback.
Yeah, I actually, that's one of the few things I like about this episode is this like transition in particular, because if you're not paying attention, you're like, oh shit, what the fuck happened?
Yeah, exactly.
It's a very nice touch. But she stands up, and the camera pans with her as she's standing up to show Rapapa standing at the top of the stairs, all looking down on her.
Yeah.
And I would like to note is that Gekikara is actually not there.
She's not. Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, does this prove that there is like a time between when Gekikara gets arrested and Yuko goes into the hospital? Or is it just an oversight? I feel like it's the first one more than the second one.
I feel like it's just an oversight, and because Gekikara's like actress didn't appear till later, they just forgot to include her in the scene.
I mean,
And I
it's
was just
also
like, oh
possible
god.
that Reina was also just busy doing other things, like
Mm-hmm.
doing
Yeah.
SKE things at the time. So that might be why it is an oversight
Yeah.
and Geki's just not there. But
Yeah, but
who knows?
Shibuya actually says like you couldn't beat us in like 100 years or something like
Oh
that.
yeah, you couldn't beat Yuko in 100 years.
And
Funny.
you see Yuko actually starting to like clap in like a
God,
mocking
it's so
manner.
fucking funny. Because they're all already, like,
Yeah.
mocking her. And she just comes out. She doesn't say anything. She just smiles at her and claps and then leaves.
Yeah.
That's it. That's
Um
the whole thing.
yeah, that's the whole thing. And then we actually just like the flashback just transitions back really seamlessly
Oh,
uh
yeah. It's
to
very nice.
Chokoko in the present, which was really nice. I thought. Yeah, she's saying like, "Oh, like Yuko's like gonna be the 100th person that I beat." Um, but she's like kind of monologuing to herself. We actually hear another voice speak up and be like, "Oh yeah, like I thought you'd be here."
Yeah. Then Chokoku goes to, like, check the voice as it's saying things like, it seems you've reached about 100. And then we see that it's the hooded character from before, and
Mm-hmm.
Chokoku's like, who are you? And she's just like, oh, I'm just your ally, it's no big deal. And then we get our
God.
second title card of the episode, which
Mm-hmm.
says Majisuka Gakuen freshman, and her name is Nezumi, which means mouse
Yeah.
in Japanese. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure how much this has to do with her actress, which is Watanabe Mayu, because I never really paid too much attention to Mayu in my entire binge of AK Bingo.
Well, I think it doesn't have to do with her actress. I think it has to do with the character that she's playing,
Okay, that's what
right? Like
I was thinking.
she's
She
sneaky,
was the other,
she's
like, she was the one
scheming.
of the two that were more based off of the character
Yes.
than the person.
Yeah, so she's, saying, "Oh, like I heard all the rumors that like, or like people are talking about
Mm-hmm.
how you only have like 6 people left to beat to reach your number." And she's like and Chococo's like, "No, it's actually 7." Which I think Nezumi knew the number,
Mm-hmm.
but to like kind of get to the point where she wants to like instigate Chokoku to actually start fighting Maida, because that's kind of her plan here. She's like, "Oh, well, if
Yeah.
if you beat if all the like heavenly queens and Yuko, it would only be 99 people, not 100 people." And so she's like, "Why not make your final one a blast?" And it's kind of like basically like setting Chokoku up uh to fight Maida, because she's like, "I know a good person that you can fight." And mentions that she's like a transfer student, and so we know who
Mm-hmm.
she's referring to.
Yeah, and she's even like, uh, she's the person that Rapapa fears the most right now.
Yes, she does mention that. And that obviously catches Chokoku's attention.
Mm-hmm.
But Chokoku doesn't respond, because we cut to the Akatsuki General Hospital, and we see Maida coming in dressed in her apron, and she's watching Yuko and her old man friends like do arm wrestling with each other.
God, and like one of them like cheats by grabbing the other one's crotch.
Oh god.
It's awful. I hate this
Yeah.
part because they specifically like talk about their dicks, and I'm like, stop.
Yeah. It's just, oh my god.
I hate it. I hate it so much.
I don't know. They all, and then so like because one of them cheated, they almost start fighting, and Maida like turns around and separates them with her inhuman strength.
Yeah. Like, it's no big deal for her. She just grabs their arms and just yanks them apart.
Yeah. And she's like, "This is a hospital," and then just like puts her arms down and just walks away. But like Yuko is watching her the entire time.
Yeah. She's like, oh, who is this kid? Not like going to ask her, but in like she's looking at her like, A, she's confused, but also B, she's intrigued. Because she's like, wait, who is this kid? Why are you this strong? And then as she's watching her leave, we get, like, her, Yuko's point of view of watching Maida leave to go do laundry, presumably.
Yeah.
And the camera gets a little fuzzy, and it starts shaking, and then we go back to Yuko, who kind of collapses onto the table, just a little bit. And we get this really obnoxious sound, too.
Yeah.
And I don't know how I could describe it, really.
I describe it as, like, the, like, novella sickness that she got. Because it's exactly, like, the kind of, like, it's, like, those illnesses that, like, characters get, but they never describe what it is.
Of course.
So, that's what it feels like to me. It's like, oh, like, they're fainting, their vision gets blurry, like, all that stuff.
I would also like to note is that
sickness.
none of her friends even notice that she even slightly collapsed. And I'm just like, there's like 7 of you grown-ass men. You're telling me you're all too busy in that fight to notice your own friends like collapsing?
It wouldn't surprise me, to be honest.
That's fair.
But yeah, so we cut back to Maida coming back with the laundry. And Sato is actually coming into the hospital and they just miss each other, basically. And Sato comes into the room where Yuko is sitting. And Yuko is kind of muttering to herself, like, what the hell is wrong with me, right? And Sato's like, are you okay? And in Yuko's point of view, we see, like, a blurry vision of Sato to showcase that she's, quote-unquote, sick. And Yuko kind of plays it off as like, oh, it's just my period.
Yeah, it's just heavy this time. It's fine.
Yeah, it's all good.
Well, Yuko asks, she's like, hey, how's school? And so Sato's like, well, the transfer student's causing trouble. And Yuko, for whatever reason, is like, really? Well, our school's been too peaceful lately, even though, like, they've been having issues with, like, Yabukune and probably other schools, too. And she's like, it's just been too peaceful. And Sato straight up's just like, no, it hasn't.
Yuko's like, yeah, you're right. Yeah, so Sato mentions the Sancho sisters, and Yuko kind of gets the gist of, oh, they've been defeated. And we get like a small flashback of Maida kicking Meow in the head. And Yuko is like, her expression turns really serious and she's just like, don't let the queens do anything. To which Sato's just like, well, I don't really have the power to tell them not to. And Yuko straight up just tells her, like, they're not strong enough to kick her ass.
My thing is, though, it's like, how, from just the little information she knows, how does she know that? Because it's like...
Yeah.
I'm sure at this point she's already aware that the transfer student is Maida. And that the person in the hospital already knows that that is Maida. So all she knows is that she's beaten these people. One of them is a group of freshmen.
Yeah.
So I don't know how, like, credible that would be. And then, I mean, sure, she saw these she watched her, separate these grown-ass men. But also, it's like, you could probably do that without having, like, superhuman strength. It just might not have been as easy. So I'm really confused as to how she would know this other than plot.
Yeah, because really, I mean, Maida's hasn't even, like, gone toe-to-toe with any of the queens or anyone even, like, older than her yet. She's only gotten toe-to-toe with people, like, in her class group or below.
Yeah.
So it's like there's really no indicator to Yuko as to why the queens wouldn't be able to beat her. So I don't know, it's kind of weird.
Yeah. I think one idea I had was just maybe she just senses it, because we do see weird things like that in this show.
Yeah.
And maybe she's just, because, they are friends. This is one of, like, maybe 2, 3 Rapapas we see where they actually are friends. And so maybe she does senses it and is just like, I don't want my friends getting hurt. We're about to graduate.
I mean, I don't know if she'd be concerned about them getting hurt, because it's like their Yankees are gonna get hurt, you know? That's just...
Well, I mean, if she's saying in this case of, like, none of them can beat her, you know, maybe it's more of a, I don't want you fighting her in particular because I don't know how badly she'll fuck you up.
Well, I guess. I think it has to do more with the fact that they are gonna graduate soon, and it's like, to just have a sudden shift in power would be really not good.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
I think it's more has to do with that than the fact of her friends getting hurt, because I don't really think it, like, Kan and Yuko really would, not that she wouldn't care about them, but that's just, getting hurt is just being part of being a Yankee.
Mm-hmm.
You know? I think it more has to do with, like, the status of the school and the status of Rapapa right before they graduate. And because, like, a shift in, like, power balance wouldn't do them good in, you know, particularly if they're going against Yabakune in this moment. But we cut to Nezumi standing in a classroom. Or rather, she's standing on top of a desk, and she's doing this weird, like, stomping thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't really make sense to me, but she is.
This is very... We see over time that this is very normal for her character. But yeah, the stomping thing, she does weird things like that, where she just stands on shit. That's very typical for Nezumi's character.
Yeah, she doesn't say anything in this scene.
No.
She just kind of, like, the scene just fades. And I'm just like, okay, what was the purpose of this?
I don't know. Probably filling time, but they could have used that time for better things.
Yeah.
Especially in this
I wasn't
episode.
quite sure why they needed this scene for. And of course, as well as the other scenes as well that are coming up, because we transition to, like, the nurse is talking to this girl. Something about, like, he asked for a pure girl.
It's the worst.
And it's just like, God, I hate it already.
God, yeah. And he points to the girl and he's like, "You're nothing like that!" And it's like, oh my god. I hate this.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, but the girl turns around and we see her, like, uniform, and we know that she's from Yabakune. But she says, yeah, it's not me. I'm not the girl. I'm just playing the middleman for her. Mm-hmm. But apparently, like, she's like, oh yeah, give me the money and I'll bring the supposed pure girl to you. And basically she's just scamming the nurse.
Yes, it's fantastic.
Oh yeah, this girl's name is Chiharu. She actually gets a title card. Kind of surprised by that.
Yeah, me too.
She seems like super minor, but she does get a name card. And she scammed the poor nurse. Well, not poor, but this gross nurse. Mm-hmm. What was it, like, 5,000?
It's 5,000 yen, which I've done the math already because of course I did. Where is it? So 5,000 yen is about in 2019, I should say. So the amount of money might have been different back in 2010. So, but now 5,000 yen is about $46 according to Google.
$46? Really? That little?
Yeah.
She asked for that little?
Yes.
It's like basically just asking for $50.
Yes.
Oh my god.
And I'm just like, if you're to scam him out of more. Go big or go home, honey.
Right? It's just like, what? $50?
Yeah, let me...
That's sad. Anyway, yeah, so she scams him, takes his money. He gets all excited. He's like, I can't wait to meet this girl. And, like, the Chiharu's like, yeah, who would ever want to fucking do that? And walks away with his money.
Yeah.
And the camera stops following her, and actually we follow someone who's riding a moped, and it turns out to be Dharma. She apparently has to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, but it's just like, oh my god, because she just leaves her bike there and runs into the bathroom. It's still on. The keys are still in the ignition.
Oh god.
And it's
I want to note though, she has a little Dharma keychain on her, like, keys. It's really cute. Oh,
that's so cute.
Yeah, it's adorable.
Aww.
But yeah, she leaves the key in the ignition, like, and she bumps into another Yabakune girl as she's trying to rush to the bathroom.
I think she also
And
gets
the
a title
girl,
card. I don't know if it's
she
now.
does.
Yeah.
She does. She gets one, and it says Yabakune Girls High School Senior Sanae. Which is, so it strikes me a little weird as that these girls get title cards, but sure. But yeah, she basically just steals Dharma's bike.
Oh yeah.
And we cut to Dharma being like, yeah, today I'll start going to school. My bike is what I thought. And then it was stolen when I went to the bathroom. She says it like in really sad tone.
Yeah. I'm just like, that's what you get for putting the keys in the ignition. And Maida, like, we see Maida here actually, like, kind of caring, because she's like, did you submit a bike theft report? And Dharma's like, no, I can't do that. I don't want to go through, like, questioning on, like, why I'm not hurt or anything. They're just gonna call me dumb.
Yeah.
And well, Maida's just like, well, bike theft is a bike theft, you know?
Yeah.
So you should probably do it. And I'm like, oh, she actually cares.
Yeah. And so as they're walking to the school gates, someone blows a whistle at them.
Oh my god.
And oh god. Okay, so someone blows a whistle at them and they're like, you should hurry up because the school gates are gonna close. I'm like, no, they're not. This is a Yankee school. What do you think this is?
God. I can't. And, like, the camera turns to this girl who's holding both the stopwatch and the whistle. And her uniform looks much more similar to what you would see in, like, a normal girls, like, a normal school. Where it's, like, the tie's, like, tied up into a bow. And she doesn't have anything extra going on, really, other than her whistle. and the stopwatch. But we also get a title card for her, which I also feel like shouldn't have happened, but okay. It says Majisuka Girls School Sophomore Student President Minageshi Minami. And they're like, student president? Like, Maida actually is like, what do you mean student president?
Those exist here? And like, they're all kind of like, this is a thing that exists? Like, yeah, so student president Minagishi Minami is just like, I'm here to whip up all these slackers into shape or something. And she's like, you guys only have like 3 seconds left to get to the gates or whatever. And they just start walking in, and Dharma just like does that thing where she gets all up in their personal space to look at their face.
God.
And then just walks away, and she just watches, and Minami just watches them walk away, and just like, it's such a weird scene. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't really like it, because it's like, I mean, I get, haha, that's funny, because it's like, look, there's a character trying to, like, put rules into a Yankee school and try to, make them more punctual, but I'm like, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah, I mean, there was, like, there was, like, 2 other girls behind them.
Exactly. And it's
you're
like,
just gonna close the gate on them?
And the thing is, if you just close the gate on them, or, like, you're trying to stop someone from coming in, they'll just push you to the side. They don't give a shit. If they really want to...
Or they'll jump the fence.
Exactly. They don't care.
Yeah, so it's a weird scene, a weird way to introduce her, this character.
Yeah. I feel like the next time she shows up would have been a better spot to introduce her.
Well, I feel like they should have introduced her, like, I don't know, in the classroom, because she's student president, like... Mm-hmm. Something like that,
or like
I don't
over
know,
the intercom, because I think that's a thing student presidents do, is that they'll do like announcements.
Yeah, that too. I feel like that would have been also a better way, but I don't know. They just, there's no thought put into this show. Anyway, we cut to them coming into the school, and there's like these crowds of girls like looking at something, and they all like disperse when Maida and Dharma come in, and like we see all these posters or these pieces of paper up with the words transfer student Maida Atsuko is a murderer written on them.
Yeah, it's like posted all the way up the staircase. If you look at
Yeah.
it when it does like the wide shot of it, it starts at the
Yeah, it
bottom and
is.
actually like goes onto the windows where the staircase turns, and it's like, oh fuck, Jesus. Okay. What's interesting is like we get this kind of like the music changes, of course, to match the tone.
Yeah.
And the best way I can describe it is like it kind of sounds like there's whispering happening in your ears. It's very creepy, very unsettling,
I think
and I think it's perfect.
partly because these flashbacks that we get of Maida.
Yeah.
Or rather, I'd like to say she actually gets PTSD. I think that she actually going through an episode because she just literally blanks. Like her face just goes blank. Like she does not react. And she's just kind of caught up in the moment of her memories. Because we see flashes of her like running and fighting and blood everywhere. We don't get like details. We just get quick cuts. But she's clearly just not in the moment. And Dharma is talking to her, but like it sounds echoey.
Yeah,
you know?
it's
like,
a very
like,
it's a very nice touch because it's like
yeah,
it shows to us really, even if maybe if they didn't show, like if they didn't actually show the flashbacks, it's a good way to show to us the viewer that she's not completely there in the present. Like there's something causing her to not be there, and it's one of the it's actually, I think it's actually really good. It's a very nice touch, and it's like, wow, you put thought into this. Cool.
But just in this scene, I think my complaint with this episode is that there's so much happening all at once.
Yeah,
and
that's a good way to put it.
So much is happening, and we can't really concentrate on one thing alone. And you know, so I think we'll see later on, a little later in this episode, what I mean by that. And I'll talk about it more. But for now, we cut after like Dharma tries to, you know, kind of be like, oh, this is just a bad prank, like don't worry about it, Atsune, and like Atsuko just doesn't respond, she just walks away. We cut to the Yabakune girl that stole Dharma's bike trying to sell it to the Yabakune girl that cheated the nurse.
Yeah, and she's trying to sell it because she asks for about 30,000 yen, and by doing the math I mean I just put it into Google.
Isn't it like 300?
It's $276.
Oh, okay, so like about $300.
Yeah, it's about $300. So
yeah,
that's way more than Chiharu was asking the nurse for. I'm just like, Jesus.
For real. But she apparently has like enough money because the girl Sanai is like, oh, I guess you're doing something, you know, to get all that cash, because apparently she has enough money to buy this bike.
Yeah.
So yeah, so like the girl's like, hey, I'll even throw in this helmet that she definitely also stole from Dharma.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that we see that scene, and then it just cuts back to Dharma trying to take off all the
kind of like a
whiplash
a little bit, because it's like we have this scene,
really
very
odd.
serious scene with them discovering all of these posters, and then we suddenly are in this position where we see what's happening with Dharma's bike, and then we're immediately put back into the spot like right where we left off, with Dharma ripping the signs down, and it's like, why? I mean, I guess I understand why they would want to be like, yeah, this is how this one character ends up with it, this is what happens to Dharma's bike, but I feel like they could have done it at like a different point in the episode.
Yeah, I mean, I understand why that scene is there, because we see what Sanai uses the money for. But it's just kind of, I don't know, like, it's a weird juxtaposition between all these other scenes, and this is what I mean when I say there's too much happening in this episode.
Yeah.
It's like they could have either focused on, you know, this plot of Maida being called a murder, or they could have focused on the Chokoku thing, or they could have focused on Dharma's bike being stolen, like, but it's all like smashed into one episode.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes it just like really, I don't know, not very good kind of flow into this
Yeah.
ep, because we're just cutting into these weird portions.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, like I just don't like it very much, because we don't seem to concentrate on one thing long enough for it to just kind of flow well enough into this ep.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so Dharma's trying to take these down, and we actually see that the student president helps take them down, and it's like, yeah, this isn't a good thing. It's really childish or something like that. I can't remember exactly what she said. But, you know, she mentions like Maida stands out like no matter what, and that she can't avoid being like targeted by people. Dharma's like, you know, this is pretty low, like things like this are no big deal, and are no big deal for Maida.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of going into like manager mode again. But yeah, so they start trying to take the rest of them down. The camera pans to Nezumi, who's listening to the conversation, and is like, yeah, fighting isn't about strength. And she takes one of the posters,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, you have to use your head when you fight.
And I'm like,
And then
girl.
like, walks away
I'm
with
like,
it.
girl, they're Yankees. They're dumb. They're not gonna
Yeah.
use their brains when they fight. But I guess that's what makes Nezumi kind of interesting, is that she's
Yeah.
more...
She's definitely a different kind of Yankee.
Mm-hmm.
Very different from people that we've seen, at least so far.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that kind of makes her for an interesting and a kind of mysterious character. But we cut to Maida. I guess she's leaving the school, so she's changing her shoes.
Yeah, I think she's leaving for the day. And then we get Chokoku actually walking up and is like, are you Maida? I heard you were strong. And Maida's like not even really there. But Chokoku is really just trying to get Maida to like react to her at all by saying things like, oh, I've
Yeah.
heard even the 4 heavenly queens are scared of you, and that kind of thing. And Maida just looks down a little bit, and then she's just like, that's just a made-up rumor. And then she goes back to putting her shoes on, and Chokoku's like, ugh, come on.
I mean, like, Chokoku needs to get in line, because everybody wants to get a reaction out of Maida.
Yeah.
But yeah, she actually attempts to, like, I guess, see if she flinches.
Yes.
Because, like, Chokoku, like, goes for a punch, and she stops, like, right before, like, she hits Maida's face, and there's, like, kind of this little wind effect that
Yeah.
happens. And I'm just like, okay. She tells Maida, I was like, oh, you are strong. And it's like, I have the perfect, like, poetry card for you, or something like that. And Maida's just like, yeah, I gotta go, bye, and pieces out of there. And we see, like, Nezumi again doing what she does best and being all, like, sneaky and, like, listening to people's conversations. But she's like, yeah, that's not gonna work with Maida. You have to basically do her trigger word
Yep.
to get her to fight. Chokoku's like, what? But, like, yeah, Nezumi, the scene ends there with Chokoku turning back to see what Nezumi is holding, and Nezumi kind of smiling that evil, scheming smile. So we're cutting a lot here, because it's just like there's so much happening,
Yeah.
but none that makes sense.
Yeah. And it's like I said earlier, it's kind of like whiplash, because it's like, now we're here. Now we're here. Now this is happening. And it's like,
Yeah,
Jesus.
it's a lot.
Yeah.
So now we're cutting to, I guess, Nezumi is in this meeting
Yeah.
or something.
I would say it's kind of a meeting.
Yeah, it's like a behind the streets alley kind of meeting.
Yeah.
Where they do deals, like drug deals or something. So we see actually Sanae, the girl that sold the bike to Chiharu, is like, oh yeah, I have all this information here, and like here's the money with it. And we can see that that's probably the money that she got from Chiharu from selling the bike. But I guess what they're asking for is information about Majijo, about Rapapa, like something that they could use, and that they're actually paying Nezumi for her services.
Yeah.
And here, like, Nezumi's like basically telling them like a plan, right? or rather she's giving them information that they seem to already know, because it's like, oh yeah, like everyone who's tried to be Repepa has failed, and everyone who has powers at the top and in control of the school. And it's just basically like they get mad because they're like, we know that shit, like we didn't just pay you to like reiterate this. Mm-hmm. She's surrounded by like girls.
Oh yeah,
like I'm like, they could literally kick her ass.
They threaten her like, if you don't give us good information, we'll kick your ass.
Yeah, but Nezume's like, but now's the perfect like opportunity to attack, because if someone can defeat Repepa, then the order of things will change. Mm-hmm. But someone interrupts, Nezumi, as she's trying to lay out her plans, and we probably get one of the best. Would you call her a villain character? I don't know if I would call her necessarily a villain, but
kind of. I don't know. I feel like she's more of a comedic character than anything.
Yeah, well,
but she's supposed to be a
Bakune characters in this season. One of our good friends really loves this character.
Oh my god. She's had her icon be this character on Tumblr, be this character for as long as I think the both of us have known her.
Yeah. But the person that comes in, like, she has dreads on, she's wearing this big old jacket, all these chains, and like she sits down and we get this title card that says Yabakune Girls High School. And I want to note that it doesn't say what year she's from.
No, it just says Boss.
That's it. And Boss comes in with like her bodyguard, I think.
Yeah, she does kind of have a bodyguard.
Yeah, so she's plucking her eyebrows as like Nezumi tries to like make her point, which is without Repepa, like Majidayo will fall. Mm-hmm. And the boss is like, but the next person who like takes over, will just be in control, and it just starts the cycle all over again. But Nezumi's like, well, there's someone who doesn't want that, and they're like, the Yabakune girls are like really kind of in disbelief of that. They're just like, who wouldn't be interested in controlling the school, But Nezumi's just like, I have people, like, don't worry. It's like, I got this. Because they're lone wolves, the people that I know who could defeat Repepa. Mm-hmm. And we get this pan of like the boss's face. The boss's face,
it's so good. Cause like she's leaning back in her chair, but they just the way they position the camera when she leans forward, it's so like in her face.
It's so funny.
It's so good.
But yeah, so Nezumi's just guaranteeing them that like, yeah, like these two people that I have chosen, they don't care about the top. But then she's like, 2 minus 2, equals 1. And we see her like jumping on the Repepa's stairs and like doing a little dance or something. Mm-hmm. And I'm surprised that like the freshman didn't come out and be like, who's down there?
I think it might just be the lighting, but I think it's after school. Because it's really dark.
Yeah, that might be possible.
So it's possible that it's after school. But that would be funny if while she was doing it, the freshman came down and be like, hey, get out of here!
Yeah, get off our lawn. But yeah, so we learned that Nezumi just wants to take the top for herself. Which, surprise, surprise. And we cut to Chokoku, like, meditating and saying that she's looking forward to her fight with Yuko, and she takes a poetry card and sticks it in her like
wedding band.
What is it, like her Victoria's Secret wedding band? Yeah.
I feel like we forgot to mention that before, but yeah, she keeps all of the poem cards in this wedding band that's on her thigh, and she has like cut her skirt up the side specifically, so she just has to like move it a little bit so she could grab it. It's like, oh my god, this child, oh my god.
So dramatic.
Yeah. I mean, she is one member of the 100 Poems by 100 Poets Club. She has to be already extra to even just make that club.
That's true. I mean, Black is the unofficial second member, but yes.
Yes.
Okay, so we cut to Dharma's waiting for Atsuko outside the hospital. And she tries to play it off as like, oh, I wasn't like waiting for you or anything. I was looking for my bike.
Mm-hmm.
But she is really concerned. Maida actually takes like an initiative to ask if like to speak to like Dharma while they're walking, um, and ask if she actually found her bike, which is like rare for Maida to do, to care, to like give a single fuck. And Dharma's like super like shocked for a second.
Yeah, she sits there like dumbfounded, like, what? You're talking to me?
Yeah. You're asking? You care?
Yeah.
And then she just starts talking her ear off about like her sticker and hope like her bike sticker and hoping someone will return it. Because like the Majisuka sticker is on there and that's like an identifier.
Mm-hmm.
But they're walking home, and of course because everyone has like a Maida radar.
They got that Maida GPS.
That Maida GPS. They run into Chokoku, who's like telling Maida to fight her. And Dharma then like takes out the poster and accuses her of like calling Maida a murderer.
And Chokoku's so funny
like,
because she's like, my writing's not that bad.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
I'm like, that's what you're concerned about? And like Dharma's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. And then Atsuko is trying to walk away while this exchange between Dharma and Chokoku is happening. But Chokoku is like, hey, I heard you killed somebody, and Maida stops.
Jesus.
It's like, oh my god.
Oh my god. And then she's like, is that serious? Like in a question? And it's just like, oh my god.
And then she's just like, now she's like interrogating her. She's like, oh, so do you react to the word serious? Why? Or did you react because I said you killed somebody? Maida doesn't turn around, but she's still standing there and she's listening. Chokoku's just like, either way, it doesn't matter. I'm seriously asking you to battle.
And then she like makes like a poem out of it, like seriously answering someone who's serious. That's serious, isn't it? Like wordplay.
Yes. It's also the worst because it's like she says that word 3 times in a sentence, but also it's like a tongue twister. I hate it.
Like, we get it. We get it.
We get it. You want Maida to fight you. We get it.
Okay, so Maida turns around and is done with everything in life. And is very, very tired. She's pissed, obviously. And we get to this fight, and this fight disappoints me in so many ways.
Yes, there's so many things they could have done better with this fight, because it starts out so fucking good, because they're like, I guess rewatching this actually has made me notice just how generally aggressive Atsuko is with her attacks. I guess I just didn't notice that before. It's great. But her and Chokoku, they are like even on like aggressiveness. And it's good back and forth. And like they get to a spot where they both stop. And Chokoku, who has her hand like kind of in front of her mouth, moves her hand to show that her lips busted.
Oh,
and
yes,
a little bit of blood.
Shot.
And then it cuts to Maida, who has a cut on the side of her face. And it's like, ooh, this is good. It's like they're evenly matched. And
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. They're like both equal in kind of like they're on an equal level, and that's really nice to see, because so far there hasn't been that for Maida necessarily.
No, not really.
If that makes sense.
The closest would be Gakuran, in my opinion, because that was like an even back and forth for the most part until the end.
That's true. But then Maida did that bullshit move. So I don't know if I necessarily count that fight, but I wish that this fight had been longer, that this fight had more emphasis, that it meant something, I guess, because it just feels like it doesn't mean anything with how quickly it ended. It just feels like meaningless, and in the span of this whole episode, it's just like Yeah, I don't know. Like, it's just a big disappointment, basically, for
Mm-hmm.
me, because I like they were kind of like hyping up this fight, during the
Yeah,
episode, and
during
then
the
it
whole
just kind of
episode,
like
and then it lasted
doesn't.
maybe like a minute and a half, maybe.
Yeah, it's very,
It's very
and it's
short and
not.
disappointing.
I don't know. Like, it's very boring. Like, yeah, like they're aggressive, and yeah, they get like one hit each on each other, but then like nothing else happens, and it's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
it's just kind of a letdown, and that's kind of why I grade this like episode so low,
Mm-hmm.
because I was just like, they're building up to this fight and then it just falters.
Yeah, I feel like a part of it, and this is something that's a problem kind of for the rest of the series at this point, is that there's too much
Mm-hmm.
going on.
Right, I was gonna mention that probably like more at the end of the
Okay,
episode, but I
we could
let's just
talk
talk
that.
about it now.
Oh,
No,
okay.
let's just talk about it now. That's yeah, that's the problem with this episode, and I think we've already mentioned this
We
before,
did.
is that yeah, that there's so much happening that the pieces that could shine in this ep don't, because
Mm-hmm.
we're being pulled in so many directions by the plot
Mm-hmm.
that it's not giving fights. For example, this fight could have been pretty great
Oh yeah.
in
If
this episode, and
yeah.
then it wasn't because it was cut so short.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, yeah, like you said, it's a problem for the rest of the season, and it seems to be a thing about Aki P, the producer's writing, is that
Uh-huh.
he loves to jam these seasons with so much stuff, and then like nothing ever comes of it, or it ends up being a giant mess
Exactly.
because everything is all over the
No
place.
one tells him no. You can't put that
Yeah,
in,
pretty much.
or we could put this at another spot. They just let him kind of go with whatever, and it's a big detriment, in my opinion, to actually the whole
Yeah, it
series.
is.
Because, like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, well, we love Maji. Obviously, we're making this podcast. Uh,
Right.
I feel like it could have definitely been a lot better if maybe there were more people a part of the writing team, and then like someone to step up and be like, hey, maybe we could do this differently, and Aki Pete went with it, because I don't know
I mean,
if
like,
maybe there
part
was
of
and
it.
he kind of was like, no, I kind of like this idea a little bit better, and then they just
Well, I
kind of
mean,
were like,
like,
okay, whatever.
I
I
don't
don't
really
know.
know what the writing process is. I just know he has like final say.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And that's the problem.
but yeah, like I think for this particular season, it's not as bad,
Oh,
right? But then you get
definitely.
certain episodes like this one where you kind of notice it, right? That
Mm-hmm.
everything is kind of all shoved into one,
Mm-hmm.
and it's I don't know. It's just sad that this ep, which features one of my favorite actresses, Akimoto Sayaka, it just she doesn't her character doesn't
She
get
got
to shine
gypped.
so much. Yeah, she did.
It's so not
Um,
fair. I mean, unfortunately, it seems very accurate because that's how they kind of treated her for the most part,
yeah, that's
especially
true.
towards the end of her idol career, um,
Mhm.
which is really sad to say because she's fantastic and I also love her,
Yeah.
but I just wish we got more of Chokoku.
She does appear, spoiler, in the second season,
Mm-hmm.
but again, it's she doesn't get enough limelight even then,
No.
I feel. So,
Is she in one
yeah, so
episode or
it
two
ends
episodes? In...
she's like in one, I
Ugh,
think.
of course it is.
Anyway, back to this fight. So Maida ends it by like basically throwing Chokoku down like over her shoulder, kind of like in a suplex.
Yeah, she flips her over, which I'm like,
Yeah, she flips her over.
I get because the way she does it, because she does it with like just Chokoku's one arm. I get because it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, she could have dislocated your shoulder completely, and with how strong Maida is,
Mhm.
I wouldn't be surprised if that's what happened. Um,
Yeah. It's possible.
so like I get
But
it,
Maida
but I hate it.
Maida like does that same thing that she did with Gakuen, where she's like almost gonna punch them, but just is like close to like Chokoku's face, her fist, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
and doesn't punch her, but is kind of like intimidating Chokoku, and And I just realized this episode that I just pulled up doesn't have subtitles.
Oh no.
Hold on. Wrong app. I was like, what are they, where's the words?
I see them talking. Where's the words?
Oh, it's because the usual episode that I looked up it got taken down.
Oh no.
Alright, YouTube it is then.
Okay.
Gotta use that small tiny video.
Yeah. Okay, well, at least I could continue it while you're looking.
Yeah.
And as Maida's standing there with her fist towards Chokoku's face, Chokoku starts laughing, and she's just like, oh, you're strong, you're serious. And then she says, you're my second loss, as she then collapses to the ground. Like, she just lets her arms give out.
Funny because Maida's like, I don't care.
Yes. She just
She's
straight
just
up
like, I don't give
care.
a fuck.
Actually, I think she says, I don't care, because Chokoku goes, you'll meet her eventually. And then she's like, I don't care. Winning and losing, it's stupid.
Yeah.
And Chokoku's just like, then why are you here? Not out loud, but she gives her a look like, all right,
yeah,
lady.
she does give her a look of like, then why are you doing all this? But really, it's like, Chokoku, doesn't know that Maida hasn't been seeking out these fights intentionally so. But the thing is, like, she's also, like, vague about it, because I don't think that Maida would know who she's referring to.
No.
She just says her.
She absolutely doesn't, because...
Yeah. So I'm just
she
like,
wasn't...
Chokoku, you're being vague again.
Yeah, she wasn't even in the room, or... If she was, she probably wasn't paying attention when Daruma got the whole spiel about Chokoku losing Yuko. I mean, I get it.
She wasn't in the room, she was at home.
Actually, I don't think she was ever, like, in the room when they ever talked about Yuko.
No, I don't think so.
So I guess it's like...
From what I remember.
It could technically be an intentional thing. I doubt it.
What was I gonna say? So, Maida gets up, or rather, she leaves Chokoku on the floor and goes to get her stuff. Dharma chases after her and takes the crumpled poster that says, like, Maida's a murderer. And it's like, yeah, I don't care about this. I don't care what they say. I don't care about your past. I'm your friend and I'm here for you and I support you. And she's so good.
Oh, I love
She's so good.
I love her so much.
What a good person.
My heart. She's such a good
and then she
character.
crumples a note and throws it down, and it's, I don't know, it's such a lovely scene despite that ugly ass fight.
Yeah.
And she says like something like, it would be nice if you could just forget your past like that. Like, wouldn't it be nice if that was a thing? And Maida just kind of looks at her but doesn't say anything. Dharma just goes up to her and then takes out a chicken wing of
She's
victory.
Like, oh yeah, the chicken wing of victory, pulls it out, and then they're staring at each other. Maida kind of goes back and forth between staring at Daruma and the chicken wing.
Yeah.
And I think Daruma actually catches on that no, she doesn't want it, so she's like, oh, never mind that. And then she puts it back in her shirt.
Yeah, Atsuko actually kind of like raises her eyes at that, and she's like, okay.
Yeah.
But Dharma takes out like a handkerchief and starts like trying to clean up the blood on Maida's cut. Yeah.
It's cute because her handkerchief has little Darumas on it.
Yeah, it's adorable.
It's so cute.
But it's actually kind of a ploy by Dharma because she's like, hey, why don't you come help me look for my bike? And Atsuko's like, no.
Yeah.
Chokoku just watches them bicker and go on their way. She takes out the little haiku poem thing from like her Victoria's Secret compartment and like says the poem to herself, I guess, and just chucks it on the floor.
I'm like, you could have used that for someone else. There are other people in the school.
That's true.
Literally, because she starts walking away, she literally walks past someone she could have just fought because Nezumi's standing there around the corner.
Right.
I mean, sure, it might not mean as much as winning against Maida, but like, if you're going for numbers...
if it's just a numbers thing.
If it's just a number thing, Nezumi's right there.
No, well, I mean, Chococo already explained that it wasn't just numbers, that it had
Yeah.
to mean something.
Yeah.
So that's
I
the only
know.
reason why. But yeah, Nezumi's there being a creeper.
As she does.
Um, and she steps on the haiku poem thing that like Chococo just threw,
Mm-hmm.
and has this like smirking
Evil.
face,
Evil face. That's what it
evil
is.
smirk
It's an
face.
evil face. This child is evil.
Yeah, I mean she spits her gum out and then does the evil smirk.
Mm-hmm.
Before walking away, and the scene like cuts to that same Yabakune girl trying to swindle some money out of this poor old man who wants a massage from, well, I wouldn't call him poor old man because he's nasty and wants a massage from like a young
Yeah.
girl.
The men accept Atsuko's dad, and I would say half the teacher, because a part of me is like, when he opened his mouth to eat the meat from Wota, part of me is like, but for the most part, I'm like, okay,
weird.
you're fine. I love Atsuko's dad. He's the best man in this entire show. The rest of them are weird. Awful people.
Rest of them are trash fire.
Exactly.
So she takes the man's money and is about to ride off when the nurse comes out and like takes the money out of her hand.
Mm-hmm.
And is saying like, hey, like you definitely like are just playing people for their cash, and calling her out basically, and is like, I'm just gonna take this bike because I know it's not yours.
Mm-hmm. Like, she starts to go right away, and then he's like, wait, that bike's stolen, right? And then she doesn't even like try to fight it or anything. She's just like, fine, and then just leaves.
Yeah, I don't really know what that was about.
Also, I would like to note, because a lot of them weren't on the bike when Dharma had them, I think she's been getting tickets on that bike.
Yeah, she has been getting tickets on that bike. So many tickets.
Yeah, the whole front's like covered with them. Oh my god.
When she finds it, it's gonna be bad.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. Anyway, so he takes the bike, and we cut back to the music room, and Shibuya is still pressing the matter with Sato about handling Maida, or really just about, the whole situation in general, and kind of pushing her buttons. And I will actually retract my statement in our earlier podcasts about Maida's bitch slap, because this next bitch slap
you're right,
is a pretty good one.
I say they're tied. I say it's pretty fucking great. Honest to God, when I first started watching the show, like 4 years ago, I just sat for a good 5 minutes and just had the slap on repeat.
Oh my god.
I don't know why. I just thought it was hilarious, so I just kind of just kept watching it.
Is this a kink thing?
No!
Or...
Excuse you!
Okay. Anyway, to save Elle from further teasing and embarrassment, Sato bitch slaps Shibuya, and she's like, looks like you won't shut up unless I kill you. And I'm just like, wow, that line is so good.
It is. And like the first time I watched it, I was like, wow, are they supposed to be friends? But now I'm like, they're Yankees. This is probably normal for them.
Right. And it seems like, the argument, or rather their fight, is gonna escalate. But then the door to the music room like bursts open, and they all turn to look, and standing there is Yuko. And they're all just like, whoa.
Yeah, everyone's like, oh shit. And they all like stand up and like straighten up.
Yeah. But Yuko's like super casual about it.
Oh yeah.
She's just like, yeah, oh, I'm here, like,
Like she wasn't in
like
the
as if
hospital
she hasn't
for
been gone
for like a month.
Yeah, pretty much. She sits in her chair, like she chucks whatever note was on there, and she sits in the chair. She tells them, oh, the stairways are like dirty, and they need to be cleaned up, which is probably just a code for we got shit to do. But all of them, Shibuya stands back in line with the rest of the queens.
I'm laughing because that means Yuko just walked past her with her being on the floor.
Yeah, she did.
She just didn't give a shit, just walked right past her.
No, she did not. She's probably like, oh, same old, like nothing has changed.
Yeah,
This probably
probably.
happens like every other week.
Probably.
Yeah. So Shibuya gets back in line and the camera kind of zooms in to her and then zooms back to Yuko. Clearly like Shibuya's like scheming something.
There's very
Uh
ominous music playing when they start doing the
yes.
zoom ins. It's a nice touch. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, shit's
But
about to happen.
it zooms to Yuko with like a really determined face, and that's really where the episode ends, as we're given behind the scenes looks, for this ep, and then the usual preview, and we meet some new faces here, in this preview.
One of my favorite characters. She's not like a major character, but we'll see her next time, and she's great. She's great.
Yeah. But we get a glimpse of more drama. We actually get a glimpse of Yuko and Maida talking on the roof of the hospital. Yeah, and I won't say much more.
Yeah.
We'll get to that
Angst hints.
next episode.
There's hints of angst, and I am ready to cry.
Lots of angst.
Yeah.
Already?
Well, this season's my favorite. That's why I'm going to cry. It has more of an effect on me than I would say like 4. I almost said 5, but 5 is a different beast. We'll get to it.
Yeah, 5 it's in its own category. So let's rate these fights. Go ahead, Elle. You first.
Okay, it is recording. For a second, I was like, oh god, my thing's not recording. It is. We're good.
Oh,
it's just on the timeline, it zoomed out so far that it doesn't really show it moving because it was the whole thing. So I was like, no! But we're good. Okay. I wrote it down somewhere in my notes. Hold on. Okay, so my rating for the fight in particular is a disappointment out of 100 poems by 100 poets.
Dead.
Because it's so disappointing. It could have been so much better given if it had more time and actually was held to more importance in the arc of the episode. And because it starts out good and then it just falls flat on its back like Chokoku did.
Yeah. Daruma-san. You fell down again. Yeah, I'd say I'd rate it half a haiku.
Half a haiku.
Out of 100 haikus. Even though they're not
They're
really
not
haikus.
They're not haikus.
They're not. Yeah, like you said, it had a lot of potential to be a really good fight, and this fight between Maida and Chokoku was just not up to par. Really, it there was a lot of elements in the episode that could have been taken out.
Oh, yeah.
And then we could have had more space for that fight to shine. Because as it is, it just feels like something that they rushed through and it just didn't amount to much.
Yeah.
In the end.
Like, I know we mentioned this earlier, but like we could have either focused on like Daruma's bike gets stolen and then have that be more of a central plot point, and maybe through that, we could have seen some development in Maida and Daruma's relationship, and also maybe come into contact with some of the Yabakune people, because we saw them in episode 3 and then we saw them again in this episode, but they didn't have any interaction with Maida at all. So
no,
it's
they
like
did not.
You could have gone that route where they did and had more development between Maida and Daruma, or you could have taken them out completely and focused more on the Chokoku Nezumi part.
Right.
Which that
but
could
it
also...
didn't have to be both.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I think they'd kind of justify it by saying, oh, like Nezumi's thing is relevant because... Nezumi's thing is relevant to the Yabakune thing because she's the mole or whatever. And that's fine, but it still takes away too much from the other elements of the show that could have shined through this episode.
And because the thing with Nezumi and Yabakune is that the part with Daruma's bike is just really to show us how the Yabakune girl got the money to pay Nezumi. We didn't need to see that.
Yeah, that's it's such a it's such a stretch.
Exactly.
And two, it's just it's not needed really. It's unnecessary. Like, don't get me wrong, like Dharma's like, it's cute that we had like that little insight of her getting a bike and stuff, but it really didn't add anything to the story.
No. Not at all.
And it could have easily been taken out,
and like
and we could have focused more on other stuff.
I feel like they forget about it in later episodes. Like they forget she
they
even has a
do bike. They do. So it's literally only for that episode.
Exactly. So
or for this episode. So it's really irrelevant.
Yeah, that, and I mean there are other like bits and pieces of things, the way things were done. Otherwise, even with just Chokoku and Nezumi, there's things we could have taken out and just improved the quality of the episode.
Right.
By a lot.
So, yeah. And that's why I say this episode is one of my least favorites this season. I mean, we did highlight, we do talk about the parts we really like.
Yeah.
But that doesn't, doesn't detract from the fact that I still don't think it's a very good ep. In comparison to a lot of the others in this season.
Yeah, I think
it's definitely one of the weakest ones.
Yeah, I think I might be biased, because next episode in the preview, we start to get more of Shibuya, so we're starting to move into Rapapa territory. So I'm biased, of course I am. But I think from here the episodes have that kind of problem too. They do, I'm not gonna lie, but I think they generally are even just much better than this one we saw. I would say this one's probably the worst of the season.
Yeah, I could agree with that. Okay, so any and for like Maji counter stuff.
Okay, so if I counted correctly, our Maji count for this episode is 7. So I think
7. Damn.
So I think less than last time. Or more than last time, less than the time before. The number goes past 5 once we get characters that make fun of Maida.
Yeah. God. Yeah, so it's definitely more than last time. But Gakuran still wins out because Gakuran.
He's just dramatic.
Yeah. Of course. You gotta be dramatic to be a Yankee. Alright, well, I think that's it for this ep. Want to plug your Twitter, Elle?
Sure. I've been slowly in the process of re-uploading all of my old Maji art to my Twitter, which you can find at allmightyyuna at twitter.com. Also, if you have been listening and you like what you're hearing, you can keep up with updates a little bit better by following our podcast's Twitter at Majidayo podcast at twitter.com, because we always post whenever a new episode goes up. So if you like what you're hearing,
we sure
you
do.
can follow us there. Anything that you want to promote, Raiden?
Yeah, so my Twitter is Majidayo, MAJIDAYOO at twitter.com. And I'm also on Tumblr, Suspicious Warrior Honmayan on Tumblr. And I recently actually made a Maji 5 MV because it's gonna be the 14th anniversary actually coming up for AKB in a couple of days from this recording. Yeah, so I was like, I don't know, I just got in the zone and I made one.
Yeah, she made it in like a day and a half.
Yeah, it's kind of wild. I never get things done that fast. So I'll post a link on my Twitter.
It's good. Go watch
it.
You
guys can watch that.
Go watch it.
You can watch it over there. Yeah, and that's really all for me. Thank you guys for listening, and as always, have a Maji day.